In the shadowed heart of Milwaukee, a name emerged that would haunt the city's darkest corners: Jeffrey Dahmer. Known as the Milwaukee Cannibal, his crimes sent ripples of terror through the community, leaving behind a legacy of fear and unanswered questions. The horrors that unfolded within his apartment defied comprehension, blending the grotesque with the surreal. As the truth came to light, the line between nightmare and reality blurred, casting a chilling pall over all who dared to look too closely. This is the story of psychological horror that lingers long after the final page is turned. In the quiet corners of Dahmer's childhood home, shadows seemed to linger longer than they should. His early years were marked by a chilling sense of isolation as strained family relationships and unspoken tensions grew behind closed doors. Subtle, unsettling behaviors began to emerge: small cruelties, a fascination with decay, and a gaze that seemed to pierce the ordinary. These early signs, woven into the fabric of a fractured household, hinted at a darkness waiting to awaken. The seeds of horror were sown long before anyone dared to look beneath the surface. During his adolescence, Dahmer began to withdraw from those around him, retreating into a world shadowed by isolation and silence. It was in these formative years that unsettling patterns emerged: an unnatural fascination with death and a growing obsession that seemed to fester in the darkness of his solitude. The boundaries between curiosity and morbidity blurred as his thoughts became increasingly consumed by grotesque imaginings. These early signs, overlooked and misunderstood, marked the beginning of a descent into something far more sinister. In the suffocating silence of his lonely apartment, Jeffrey Dahmer crossed a threshold from which there would be no return. Shadows twisted along the walls as his first crime unfolded, each movement echoing with a chilling finality. The act itself was grotesque, but it was the aftermath, a creeping sense of exhilaration and dread that marked the beginning of his psychological descent. From that moment, an insidious hunger began to gnaw at him, warping his reality and drawing him deeper into a labyrinth of darkness. The line between man and monster blurred, and the world outside grew ever more distant, swallowed by the shadows within. Within the suffocating confines of Dahmer's apartment, every shadow conceals a secret, and every corner whispers of unspeakable acts. The space twists into a labyrinth of horror, where grotesque trophies are displayed with chilling pride, their presence warping the air with dread. Walls seem to close in, stained with memories that refuse to fade, while the unnatural silence is broken only by the echo of past terrors. Here, the ordinary transforms into the nightmarish, and escape feels impossible as the apartment itself becomes a living, haunted entity. In the suffocating gloom of his private world, twisted rituals began to take shape. Each act, meticulously repeated, blurred the line between reality and fevered imagination. Compulsions grew stronger, driving him to devise ever more disturbing methods, each one a step deeper into the abyss. What began as dark fantasies soon became an inescapable cycle, binding him to horrors of his own creation. Within the suffocating darkness, terror coils around the minds of those ensnared, distorting reality into a labyrinth of dread. Each shadow seems to whisper threats, every echo a reminder of inescapable danger. Confusion blurs the boundaries between waking and nightmare, as the victim's thoughts spiral into panic. The oppressive atmosphere weighs heavily, making each breath feel like a struggle against unseen horrors. In this surreal torment, fear becomes an endless corridor from which there is no escape. As the darkness within deepens, Dahmer's grip on reality begins to unravel. Each act of violence grows more audacious, the boundaries between nightmare and waking life dissolving into a single, suffocating haze. Shadows twist and writhe around him, feeding on his escalating depravity, while the world outside remains oblivious to the horrors festering within. The air thickens with dread, and every step he takes draws him further into a labyrinth of his own making, where escape is no longer possible. In the heart of Milwaukee, unsettling rumors began to circulate, weaving their way through late-night conversations and hushed gatherings. Residents spoke of fleeting shadows that lingered just beyond the reach of streetlights, and of chilling laughter echoing from deserted alleyways. Stories of grotesque figures with twisted smiles emerged, their features barely glimpsed before vanishing into darkness. The city's familiar streets grew strange and oppressive, as if the very walls were watching, and an ancient dread seeped into every corner. It was as though the city itself was holding its breath, waiting for something unspeakable to reveal itself. In the suffocating gloom, the presence of law enforcement was meant to be a beacon of safety. Yet, their hesitation and overlooked warnings became cracks in the fragile barrier between order and chaos. Each missed opportunity, each ignored plea, allowed the horror to fester in the shadows, growing ever more grotesque and bold. The corridors of justice twisted into labyrinths of uncertainty, where the line between protector and bystander blurred. In this darkness, the nightmare was free to thrive, unchecked and unchallenged. Within the labyrinth of Jeffrey Dahmer's mind, shadows twist and coil, revealing a psyche fractured by obsession and isolation. Experts have uncovered a chilling blend of compulsion and detachment, where empathy is eclipsed by an insatiable hunger for control and possession. His motivations seem to emerge from a void, an aching need to conquer loneliness, to transform fear into dominance, and to preserve fleeting moments of connection, no matter how grotesque. Each act was not only a crime, but a ritual, echoing the darkness that haunted his every waking thought. In the suffocating silence of a small apartment, the truth finally clawed its way into the light. The grotesque secrets, hidden behind locked doors, spilled forth, staining the city with a terror that would never truly fade. As investigators unearthed the horrors within, whispers of Dahmer's name slithered through the streets, infecting every shadow with dread. The world recoiled in disbelief, gripped by the chilling realization of what had been lurking just out of sight. Inside the dimly lit apartment, investigators uncovered a scene that defied comprehension. Shadows clung to the walls, revealing objects and remnants that hinted at unspeakable acts. The air was thick with a sense of dread, every corner concealing fragments of a nightmare brought to life. Each discovery added another layer to the horror, leaving those present with memories they would never escape. The apartment itself seemed to pulse with the lingering presence of something deeply unnatural. As chilling reports flooded the airwaves, a media frenzy erupted, amplifying every grotesque detail. The public's reaction was a volatile mix of fear and revulsion, with whispers of the incident spreading like a contagion through crowded streets and empty corridors alike. Yet, beneath the surface, a morbid fascination took root, eyes glued to screens, minds haunted by images too disturbing to forget. The boundaries between reality and nightmare blurred, feeding an atmosphere thick with dread and uneasy curiosity. Inside the courtroom, a heavy silence lingered as witnesses recounted their harrowing encounters with Jeffrey Dahmer. Each testimony peeled back another layer of horror, revealing details that seemed almost too grotesque to be real. The atmosphere was thick with dread as jurors and onlookers struggled to grasp the depths of Dahmer's disturbed mind. Shadows seemed to gather in the corners, echoing the darkness at the heart of the trial. In this oppressive space, the line between reality and nightmare blurred, leaving all who attended haunted by what they had heard. In the wake of unspeakable tragedy, the memories of those lost linger like shadows at dusk. Each victim was more than a name, cherished by their families, woven into the fabric of the community. The pain left behind is a silent echo, reverberating through empty rooms and haunted hearts. Families carry the weight of absence, while the community grapples with scars that may never fully heal. In remembering their stories, we acknowledge not only the depth of loss, but also the enduring strength of those left behind. In chilling interviews and confessions, Jeffrey Dahmer spoke with a calm detachment that belied the horrors he described. His words revealed a mind consumed by dark urges and an inability to resist them, even as he expressed moments of remorse. Dahmer often recounted his crimes in unsettling detail, exposing the twisted logic that guided his actions. Through these confessions, the true depth of his psychological torment became disturbingly clear, leaving listeners haunted by the echoes of his voice. The chilling legacy of Jeffrey Dahmer lingers like a shadow in the corners of our collective mind. His story is not merely one of crime, but a descent into the darkest recesses of human nature, where evil wears a disturbingly ordinary face. Each retelling stirs a primal fear, forcing us to confront the unsettling possibility that true horror can emerge from the everyday. The psychological terror lies in the realization that the boundaries between normalcy and monstrosity are far thinner than we wish to believe. In the wake of Dahmer's atrocities, Milwaukee found itself grappling with wounds that ran far deeper than the headlines. The city's neighborhoods were haunted by a pervasive sense of fear and mistrust, as families mourned and communities questioned how such horrors could unfold unnoticed. Lingering shadows crept into daily life, with memories of the crimes echoing in empty streets and whispered conversations. Even as time passed, the scars remained, reminders of a darkness that had once taken root and the ongoing struggle to reclaim a sense of safety and hope. Whispers of the case spread like a plague, seeping into the cracks of the city's memory. Urban legends took root, each tale more twisted than the last, feeding on the collective fear of the unknown. Some spoke of cursed corridors that appeared only at midnight, others of faces pressed against windows, grinning with impossible mouths. In the shadows, folklore and reality merged, leaving listeners unsure of what was true and what was merely a nightmare that refused to fade. There is a chilling allure in the shadows of true crime, a fascination that draws us ever closer to the edge of the unknown. We peer into the abyss, compelled by a need to unravel the minds behind unspeakable acts, searching for meaning in the chaos. This urge to comprehend the incomprehensible is both a shield and a curse, offering the illusion of safety while exposing us to the darkest corners of human nature. In the flickering gloom, curiosity becomes obsession, and the line between observer and participant begins to blur.